Okay, so hello and welcome everyone to the Digital Marketing Workshop. Thank you everyone for joining this evening. I'm Charlie McBride, the Digital Marketing Officer at Kent FA. We wanted to run this workshop as we know social media and content can be such a vital tool to grassroots clubs and leagues. So from like promoting your matches to engaging with fans, it is such a crucial tool for the current age. So tonight we really wanted to help you boost your online presence and take your digital marketing skills to the next level. We have an exciting evening lined up. We've got our digital media partners, Sleeping Giant Media here, who are going to guide us through the digital world, and then followed by our head of safeguarding, Lucy Kidd, who is going to go through what your digital channels should have to be supporting safeguarding. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Aniela and Luke.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear us okay?
Yep.
Amazing. Well, I say thank you so much, Charlie, for having us here. We're really excited to be here talking through sort of the social media branding and sort of the online journey for your fans and for people that engage with your league. So can everyone see the slide? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's a good start. So there's going to be a number of photos of the team playing. I don't feature in any of this. Unfortunately, I wasn't picked for the squad.
So we're looking at enhancing your presence online. So some quick introductions. My name's Luke. I'm the marketing lead at Sleeping Giant Media. I manage the workload, the projects and campaigns of the brand and marketing team. I'm all about UX web design, so user experience web design, marketing strategies.
I also make sure that whatever we create has more of a marketing purpose and a focus. And I'll pass you over to Aniela.
So hi, I'm Aniela. I am the senior. I always forget senior. I underplay myself. So I'm the senior creative and social executive, which means I look after the day-to-day runnings of Sleeping Giant Media's social accounts. So TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all of them, which means I deal with the everyday management and the content creation side of things. I'm experienced at building a brand online because obviously I look after that side of Sleeping Giant Media's socials. And a little thing about me, I'm a bit of an organic social media nerd. You'll kind of get to know what organic social media is if you don't already know. But I'm in a group of about 500 social media managers. That's the level of sad I've reached. So yeah, that's a bit about.
Moving on then, we're going to be looking at everything from start to then sort of the content creation on your social media channels. So I wanted to start just by sort of talking about what a brand is. Branding is so important. We're met with brands every single minute, every single day. So the brands that we engage with comes down to the Rode mic that I've got in front of me here, the MacBook Air that I'm using, I've got the hoodie that I'm wearing, our trainers, our energy provider. There are so many different people that do what we do. It's why we need to think about why we choose to engage with those particular people. Your brand, and this is a relatively unknown businessman, I think this is one of the first features of our generative AI, but your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. So it's really crucial to think about not just the visual brand, but everything before that, which then comes into the content creation. Understanding branding in football a team's brand is not just about the logo on the shirt, it's about the passion it ignites in the hearts of its supporters and the stories it weaves and the values it upholds. So it's really important that we carry this through in every single piece of content or every single touch points that our customers have with us. Think about it beyond the scores, the players and the crowds. Obviously, football at its heart is a universe of emotions, is so strong to people, like the brand that they carry in their heart when they think about the team they support or who they play with. It's a family thing. It crosses where you're located in the world, but obviously we don't always support the local team. It's not just about the game that's played on the field, but it's a way of life for millions. So it's just making sure that we think about it to that depth. So some questions to ask yourselves, and I'm going to ask you guys if you can put this in the group, but do you have any checkpoints that you go through, like when you're thinking about your team? So who are you? What is it exactly that you do? Who do you do it for? Who do you want to join your team? What's your ethos? What do you want your team to achieve? So just looking at this slide here, I'm just going to ask you guys if you've got any answers for this to just chuck it in the chat so we can get to know you a bit better as well, just to see what we're working with, and that can help me sort of with the rest of the slide as well. So just wait for some few answers in the chat, if that's okay. I always know the awkward silence will get them. Cool.
Sorry, Luke, when you say who are you, do you mean us personally, or do you mean the clubs that we represent?
The clubs that you represent. So I mean, like, so who is it? As in, the club has a personality, right? You look at yourselves, and there is something that you guys are sort of stand for. I guess it's quite a general question. Maybe answer it however you would see that going, but it's whatever you would have at the front of your mind of how you want to represent yourselves. Perfect. So local grassroots football club covering all ages along with girls teams with disabilities, 31 teams football for all, inclusivity. Amazing. Yeah, this is all the kinds of things that we need to think about when it comes to the kind of content that we're going to be creating later on. Yep, community led. Exactly. Positive football environment. Again, just leaning into that inclusivity. So you know who you are. Now what? Questions to ask ourselves is what we'll do is we'll send this slide out obviously for everybody to be able to see and to just go through those things, but go over all of the answers that you would have given, refine them into a concise summary so that you have that at the forefront of your mind whenever you're doing it. Craft a brand story for yourselves. So develop something that really sort of gives the history, the values and the vision of your club. This story can then be used for your promotional materials on social media, communication strategies, and then capture the message. So create something similar to a value proposition if your club doesn't already have one. I took some time to look through some other clubs, and obviously you've got examples like You'll Never Walk Alone, the classic one obviously, May the Force Be With You, and various other ones. So a task for yourselves, say approximately 5 minutes, but do you have any? If you have already, just chuck it in the chat, or maybe some ideas for compelling messages that you want to be at the forefront of what your club would stand for. Perfect. Yeah, that's a really good example. So local, friendly, community-owned club. Well, it doesn't have to. Is that a question? So like a history of your football league over the last 50 years and what you've provided. I guess, yeah, it's just what can you put down to being the core motto and the message that you want to say, like, this is what we stand for, and could that be, yeah, local football for all abilities? Perfect. It's simple, straight to the point. It just really promotes that inclusivity. Amazing. I see someone typing. I'll wait for one more and then I'll move on. Inclusion for everyone, so no one is left out. That's brilliant. Yep. Amazing. Okay. I mean, keep those coming in, and obviously I'll check back in on them as well. So then the next step is, how do I look? So this is Howie. He's looking quite, I don't believe he was winning at this point by the looks of things. It's then to think about, what do your favorite clubs, or what do you want to do from a visual perspective that lets you know that you're viewing content from them immediately. It's that brand recognition. So how quickly do you recognize content from those clubs, and what is it that makes you recognize them? Now, there is a trigger warning coming up. Preserve your hate. I know that we all have our own teams that we support. This is pure, just focus on the task at hand. But what are the main things here that you can see that are running through? So we've got Manchester City. These are assets from their website, from their social media. These are various examples. What is it that you can see within this? Yeah, the blues, the logo, the club colors immediately, the club badge. So obviously we don't know exactly the levels of everybody here, sort of with design aspects or how involved within your content creation you are. Are you aware of what hex codes are? Not good for Gillingham fans. Cool. Hex codes are cool. Well, so hex codes are essentially the code for a particular color. For us in brand and marketing at Sleeping Giant Media, we have our hex codes burned into the back of our brains. Like, there is no way that we can forget them. Our purple and our white and our pink and all the colors that we use in our color palette, basically we make note of all of those. They go into everything we create because we want people to recognize exactly what we're doing straight away. And that will be similar to what you can see in this kind of content. So that blue will be hopefully represented across everything. There may be variations. Obviously, you can see these two don't exactly match, but it is the brand colors. You can also see that they are very, very involved with like action photography and the groups of people together, and then also the individual stuff. The next club, Barcelona. Looking at the Barcelona, I'm not sure where we got to, but the main important thing for me here is the fonts that they use and the typefaces and bringing their brand colors into that. Immediately, you know, with that red and with that blue, or the burgundy and the blue, and then with the bold sans serif fonts, which is the fonts without the, it's not cursive, essentially. You know straight away that you're looking something from Barcelona. Again, it's like very bright imagery that we're leaning on here. And a final one that hopefully we can all get behind. You can see here, obviously it's the red, white, and the blue. Again, very action heavy photography, people focused content, and their website here as well mirrors that. It's those colors that are carried throughout. So a simple checklist for yourselves to go through would then be, what colors does your club use? Create a color scheme if you haven't already got one, and consistency is key. It's then looking at your logo and emblem. Do you have any other visual cues that you can use? What fonts or typefaces to use? Once you've figured those out, stick to them. Make sure that you go through them. What imagery do you want to use? Is it going to be people? Is it going to be mainly objects? Do you like having a lot of space? Do you like being close in? Those are the kind of things that you look at as well. And then also your tone of voice. So how is it you want to talk to people? Do you want to be very formal? Do you want to be quite aggressive? Do you want to be more relaxed? It's totally down to yourselves. This is where that messaging that we were talking about earlier on can really, really help you decide how you want to reach your audience and connect with your audience. And then once you've got them, make them concrete, write them down somewhere, and make sure if it's just you that's looking after it, you've got it back to refer to, or if you're going to be sharing it with other people and getting other people involved in your content creation, that they're aware of those things as well, so that you're always putting something out there that people will recognize. So then you'd look at where you want to go. Let's start looking at the channels where you want your brand to connect with your audience. So you've got social media. This is best for real-time updates, things like match results, player insights, behind the scenes content, direct and immediate connections with fans or with people, like with players. It can act as a central platform for sharing club news, upcoming events, and also managing your communities. Interactive discussions, create a space for interactive conversations, feedback, promotion and sales. So I don't know if you have anything with ticket sales or partnerships and increasing visibility on there. And then the biggest one for me would be the community connection and acting as a bridge that builds that relationship. By the way, if you do have any questions, feel free to type them into we have a template and fonts for our branding. Perfect. So central information hub. This is where obviously I know that you guys have sort of mainly templated sites and CMSs that you work with, but it needs to act as obviously the central place for your club and information, providing the match schedules, player profiles, anything that you can get on there. Everything you do on any other channel, usually I would assume would be pointing people through to here. It's really important to focus on the customer journey and thinking about, where do I want this person to go? What content do I want them to interact with here? And what is the end goal for me, which I know Aniela will be touching on later. It's obviously your brand representation again. It should reflect your club's brand identity through absolutely everything, again, with the visuals, the content, and obviously serve as the main point of contact. So you're going to want to be creating posts and content that drive people through to there, that eventually then sign up or turn up to your games. Email marketing. This is one that's massively overlooked. I don't know how heavily people look into in email marketing within your clubs or your leagues, But for us, and for many companies, it is a direct form of communication that has a much higher conversion rate and click rate than a lot of the other channels. And it's, again, really, really good for building relationships. So now I'm going to touch on the social media platforms. And again, if you do have any questions, please feel free to just chuck them in the chat. We will be doing a Q&A session later as well. Facebook, really good for your general content sharing, community building, events, and diverse content types. Each platform will have its own benefits. It's down to yourselves to figure out how best you want to use those. Instagram, mainly used for your visual content sharing, including your images, your videos, and stories. It's really important that you can blend the two because they're both the Meta platforms, but trying to have different content on different platforms is really, really going to help you stand out and get the results you want from them. So X, previously Twitter, is all about real-time updates, quick communication, news and conversations. TikTok, which is, I guess, the elephant in the room, which is the one that everybody's on about at the moment. It's all about your short-form engaging videos with a wide range of creative content. Snapchat is quite similar, but it's really, really focused on content that doesn't live very long. It's really there for you to just, it really disappears fast. Obviously then LinkedIn, you've got your professional networking, might be good for sponsorships. YouTube for your video content and sharing, really good for tutorials. If you're considering doing like a club vlog, that could be a really cool way of interacting with people as well. And then obviously we're looking at your sort of your email side of things for the direct communication. So I think now is the time where I'm going to hand you over to Aniela, and she's going to talk about our audiences.
So audiences, really, they're derived from your goals as a club. That's the core of it. Your audiences are who you're going to want to target on social media. And the first step of social media, know your audiences. If you're a marketer, you hear that like probably every meeting we have. So we're going to drill that into you a bit today. So first off, I would just like to know, as a representative of your club, what would you say your club's goals are? What are you looking to do online? What are you looking to do with your online presence? Is it engaged signups? Is it just awareness? Let me know in the chat. We love to see the little blue dots typing. It's very encouraging.
Unless it's saying your mic's not working.
That is less encouraging. But we always get through it. There's always an audio problem. Attract more of the community to the club. So great, that community engagement piece, super important in this kind of football. All kinds, sponsorship, players wanted, results, absolutely. I mean, who doesn't want results, right? That's going to be a core focus for, I mean, every business, every organization. Post on club social activities, players wanted, absolutely. So again, driving sign-ups to the club, getting people to events to see how awesome your clubs are, and then hopefully engage with you. Just let these blue tops finish. As a league, being able to communicate with all club secretaries, coaches, parents, yep. So reaching the right people that are going to engage with you, essentially. Get new players, update supporters, what's going on, big focus on players with disabilities to raise and grow awareness, absolutely. And I mean, that's the thing, without an online platform, how are you reaching these people now? I mean, like the sticking a piece of paper up on a lamppost, I'm not sure it works in the same way. Everything is online. So hopefully we can help you a bit with that today. Okay, awesome. I'm going to move on, but we'll be checking this chat, so please carry on. So, a massive part of grassroots football, obviously, so many of you mentioned new players and community, right? So all of those things, they're going to be local to you, hopefully. I mean, you might find a player that wants to travel the world to get to you, but the likelihood is they're going to be local and they're going to want to support and be part of their local club. So with those goals in mind, with those local goals in mind, you're going to want to look at local audiences. So the types of audiences you're going to want to think about with this, you've got players and their families, so driving those signups, getting players to play for you. And if it's younger players, you're going to want to target their parents or their families so that they can kind of pass that information on, get them to sign up, encourage them to be part of the group, essentially. you've got local community residents. So power is in numbers. And even if community residents don't necessarily want to be part of the football, they're going to pass on that message. You know, the power of like just telling someone about something is super important. I mean, it's how a lot of local businesses thrive, and it's no different in an organizational sense. So grassroots football, absolutely, word of mouth is going to be key. You've got local businesses. So local businesses love to get involved with community initiatives. I know in Folkestone, like everyone knows each other, all the businesses talk, all that kind of thing. So local businesses, they might choose to support you in a sponsorship sense, or, you know, they might share your content, they might put a poster up. It's reaching all the possible avenues locally that you can. Local schools or youth organizations, again, if you're targeting younger players, schools, everyone has to go to one unless you're homeschooled, but a majority. And, you know, youth organizations, I was part of a Friday club. I don't know if anyone else was part of that. I feel like it was a generational thing. But again, like there were so many posters and so many events that were up there that I could be a part of. And now that's kind of moved onto the online space. So community pages, reposting each other's stuff, super, super important. And finally, local media outlets. So, you know, newspapers, they have online presences now. They share their stories online, and that really, really spreads the reach of that content. So if you're reaching out to local media outlets, chances are they're going to share that online as well. And, you know, we don't hate traditional marketing here. So if you can get your club into a newspaper, absolutely reach out to them. But you might also have a wider ambition. You know, we all want to be the next David Beckham. If he's still a relevant player, I don't know, maybe. But you might want to reach a regional or global audience, in which case you're going to use different platforms, you're going to have different strategies. But in terms of audiences, there are audiences you can reach as a local club to try and drive support for your initiatives. So social media and online communities, there is a huge, huge focus on online communities. TikTok's whole thing is finding your community online, and there are people that will support football, whether it's a local club, whether it's the most famous club in the world, whether you're Mbappe or whether you're a kid starting off. So it's finding those communities online and actually making yourself a part of that so that you're being supported on an online space, because that's very encouraging and it encourages your content. They could share your content. It's just that awareness piece. Sports enthusiasts and football fans. So again, it's that they're going to support you because they want to support the sport, whether that's on a local level, whether that's on a global level, and whether that's small or whether that's large football. Like there's such a space for sports fans that you want to be reaching them, whether they're local or not. You've got oh my God, sports. I've said sports too much. That's the problem. Sports brands and retailers. So again, I think huge retailers are underestimated because there are so many sports brands that actually want to support local initiatives, because at the end of the day, that's how everyone starts. So reaching out to those sports brands online is the first touch point you're ever going to have with them. You know, going into a local store probably won't have the same effect because the right people won't be engaging with you, but reaching out online is going to be a huge step forward for that. Online media outlets, so maybe, you know, like BuzzFeed, Lad Bible, all that kind of stuff. If you've got a rising star within your football club, share it with them. They love local stories. They love, especially with youth players, you know, they're going to want to be pushing that content out. Like, look at this rising star. He's only 7, but he's literally Mbappe. Like, they're going to love that story. So reach out. And then regional businesses with intent to support youth initiatives or sports initiatives. That's hugely important as well. I mean, there are so many large businesses that want to give back to communities, that want to give back to youth initiatives, and sport is often at the forefront of that. So again, reaching out to regional businesses if you see an opportunity, which I'm sure there are absolutely loads. It's just finding them and it's just reaching them. So where can you find the audiences? Luke has already touched on the kind of outlet that you can reach to, but we're going to go more into the social side of that. So most of the goals that you guys have put in chat are focused to that local audience, which we've already talked about. So the most effective approach for this, for grassroots football, is going to be focusing on that local audience. So in my time, I have seen that actually meta platforms are the most effective in reaching a local audience. They offer the most features for a local audience, and they're the most effective in actually targeting that reach to people around you. So obviously, meta platforms, first up is Facebook. Everyone knows Facebook, everyone uses Facebook. Every business in the world will have Facebook near enough, because you have to have ads manager, you have to have meta business, which means you have to be on Facebook whether you like it or not. It's a hugely beneficial platform for a local community audience. It has features like community pages and community groups, which even as a business now, we use to spread local events. Like, they're so important. If you have a younger club, so if you're using youth players, then actually the main age group on Facebook is 25 to 34-year-olds. So if you're targeting younger players, now that's kind of going to be the age group you want to target in terms of finding younger players, because they're going to be the parents or the families of those children. So that's super important. But equally, if you want older players, you know, in their 20s, pretty good age range to try and hit. So there's that side of it as well. As I've said here, 93% of businesses are on Facebook. That is a huge amount of businesses, and that is a lot of people that you can reach. As I've said, they need Meta Business Manager, so they will be active on there in a business sense. So even in terms of local sponsorship or regional sponsorship, they're great people to try and reach. I'm not going to preach too much about Facebook, but it is a super good platform for local audiences. And then you have Instagram. So again, on Instagram, a large majority of your following will be a local audience. It targets in the same way Facebook does. So it looks for people in the immediate vicinity around you and will try to push those people your content, and will try to push you to those people in terms of followings, in terms of suggestive content, all that kind of thing. But Instagram's a little bit different. It's super helpful for local audiences because it has features like geotagging, local hashtags, location-based ads, and stories. So there are many things. I'm sure when you've made a story or you've made a post, there's like so many location settings you can actually tap into. So things like location hashtags. What age group is Instagram aimed at? So yeah, Instagram has a slightly younger demographic. It's 18 to 24, that is the most prevalent, but it's only about 1% difference. So the 25 to 34 and the 18 to 24 age groups are the most prevalent on there. Again, probably quite a good age group to target. And I think across the board, apart from LinkedIn, that is generally the biggest age group to look at. But as I've said, like with location-based ads, with local hashtags, you can tap through to the exact location. So if you looked up the hashtag for, let's say, Gillingham, you'll see all the people that have tagged Gillingham in their stories or in their posts. That's super helpful in knowing who you could follow, who you could target, who you could target with your ads, who you could even just reach out to, because they're literally putting it in their posts. There's not many other platforms that will allow that. You know, for those regional and global goals, Instagram is also great. So you can use things like Reels, which the reach is just absolutely massive on. Using the right hashtags, you can reach those global sports audiences that are going to push your content, engage with your content, and essentially just put you right into circulation. I mean, we've had reels that have had like 100,000 views, and we're just a digital marketing agency from Folkestone, so I'm sure grassroots football is far more interesting than that. So, you know, there's no limit to what you can do with Instagram, but on that local level, it's great. And if you do then want to push into those global audiences, the opportunities are there. So how can these platforms be used? I know I can talk at you about how great they are, but until you see the purpose and until you see the functions of them, it's really no good. Do hashtags work on Facebook as well as Instagram? So actually, this is a very recent thing. Facebook never had hashtags before. It was more very feed based, but kind of since TikTok's come in and we've had a For You page, which is essentially interest based content that's pushed to you, Facebook has introduced reels and hashtags in a sense to keep up with what's happening on social media. So hashtags didn't work on Facebook for a long time. Now they're starting to. So the search functions on Meta have historically been quite terrible. So hashtags haven't worked too well. We're beginning to see, this is going into the digital marketing a bit too far maybe, but SEO introduced on these platforms, which means that you'll be able to search for content using those hashtags. And that's what we're starting to see on Facebook. So I would definitely suggest starting to implement hashtags on Facebook. If you don't see it working now, you will. So it's good to get ahead of that curve. A specific length that a reel should be. So on Instagram, a reel actually cuts off at 90 seconds. So a reel is considered a reel for 90 seconds. Anything past that, it's still ranked as a reel, but it just, you don't get the same features. So if you're trying to focus on a reel up to 90 seconds, but Instagram will still put it under the same kind of ranking as a reel, you just won't be able to access things like trending audios, which can be super important. You'll have to add your own music and you won't be able to use the same level of editing tools within the platform. But that doesn't mean that the reach won't happen. It just means that you won't be able to use some of the trending content, I suppose. But yeah, I would definitely suggest experimenting with both longer and shorter format video, because at the end of the day, you don't know what will work for you. And we kind of keep a mixture. So let's look into how the platforms work. So first up, there are two different ways of looking at social. There's paid social, which is the advertising side, and then there's organic social. So organic social is basically what everyone does all the time, posting content that they've made and then, you know, just hoping that it performs. But we're gonna give you some tips to make sure it performs, so don't worry. So paid social media says what it does on the tin. You have to pay for it, which straight away is a bit of a turn off, am I right? Like, you don't want to have to pay for social media, but it can be a really helpful tool. It's a form of advertising that essentially will push your content further, and you can get it seen by very, very targeted audiences. So this could be by interest, age, location. There are multiple like forms of targeting that you can use. So for paid social media, you can obviously use advertising. There are different forms of advertising, which we'll go into in a second, but you can also use sponsored posts, which are a cheaper, more, I suppose, easier way of using paid social. You don't have the same complexities. You don't have to have ad manager. It's just sponsoring a post, essentially boosting it in a feed. So if anyone uses like Vinted, probably not, but you can boost a listing and then it goes to the top of the page. It's essentially a similar thing with paid social. So as I've said, paid social, great for targeting audiences. Essentially, it can ensure that you're reaching the right audiences, and then that is, you pay for that based on either pay per click, which is PPC. So the same as like things like Google Ads. So every time someone clicks on your ad, you'll be charged for it, or pay per impression. So if you know anything about analytics and insights, basically a post will have a certain amount of impressions, which is the amount of people that have seen it in their feed, and it will charge you per impression. And then there's organic social media. So as I've said, this is general social media practice. This is without paying. This is a free platform unless you pay for like subscription, like Meta subscription, which I don't suggest. But this is generally what you'd expect from social media. So this is your likes, your comments, all your engagements, and the strategies to get you into circulation without having to pay for it. This is like your regular posts, your regular updates, images, reels, all that kind of thing. It doesn't require direct financial input. You don't have to pay for it, but organic social media is a hefty investment in that you have to make the content, you have to provide the content, you have to put time into strategies. Like there's a lot that goes into it. Trust me, it's my day-to-day, but it's worth it. It is worth it. Once you get rolling, once you get that consistency, you do see it build, and actually it's very encouraging. It's great for building a brand identity, you know, as Luke touched on, getting those graphics right, getting those assets right. You begin to see on your feed, actually, it looks really nice, it looks really clean, and you're seeing your brand build on that feed, on your profile. It looks great. It's great for maintaining relationships. So like it's a really easy contact point. We have a lot of people message us through our Instagram just because it's less formal. You know, people feel like it's way more accessible than sending an email to like an email that doesn't seem personal. Like social media becomes that almost human touch point, which is great. And generating trust and credibility. So it's a great way of showing yourselves off without having to pay for it, essentially. So let's look at meta ad types. You've got, so these are what you pay for. These are paid advertising. You've got image ads, which is essentially pictures of the club, pictures of any merchandise you might sell, tickets. It says what it does in the tin. It's an image ad. It will show up in people's feeds. Video ads, which are the same thing, again, showing up in people's feeds, but using video assets opposed to photographic or static assets. Carousel ads allow you to essentially have multiple bits of content that are interactive. So people can flick through them, go through a journey, see what's going on, and you can feature multiple different things in that. So for example, we use carousels for tutorials or informative updates because you can fit more than one thing in there. You've then got instant experience ads, which are if you've ever opened an app and then it's straight away just an ad like in your face, that's an instant experience ad. Again, kind of on the tin. That will take you through the journey there and then. You won't have to click through to anything. It's there. The experience is there. I mean, yeah, it literally is in the title, right? And then collection ads. So this is where you'll have a banner of one image or video, and then there are various things that you can click through underneath that. This essentially allows you to display multiple different things, different links, and people can then click through based on that. Paid ads are awesome, and they are awesome. I'm taking nothing away from paid ads, but generally they are better in an e-commerce sense. So for sign-ups, for that kind of thing, it's a lot harder to make the best of paid ads. So what else can you use? Boosting a post. So this is what I talked about earlier, those sponsor posts. Boosting posts are great. They're more affordable, they're easier, and you can choose from the goal of more messages, more website visits, I'm losing the will to speak, or more profile visits. So whether you have a website or not, there are goals in mind for this. You can draw people back to your Instagram account, or you can lead them to a website. And it also has great targeting options. So you can use location, you can use interest, and you can use age and gender. So you might want to target those in a parent's age range who have an interest in sports or youth organizations, and then the location immediate to you. If you do want to know more about boosting posts or how to do it on Instagram, head to our YouTube channel. We have a Giant Wednesday series which can talk you through all manner of digital marketing things, and one of those things is boosting a post on Instagram. So we can literally walk you through the whole thing. So boosted posts versus paid ads, which is better? Paid ads are great, but they're expensive. Boosting posts are ideal for increasing exposure, raising brand awareness, and engaging with a broader audience on a budget. So if you don't have that much, then boosted posts are the way to go. However, paid ads better for website conversions, lead generation, and online orders. So as I said, kind of that e-commerce side. So maybe ticket sales or something like that are better aimed towards paid ads opposed to that boosted post side. But if you just want the awareness of your club, then boosted posts are the way to go. So paid social is great if you have the budget. So Meta has a minimum of £2 a day for paid advertising. So that gives you an idea of the absolute amount that you spend straight away. But they actually suggest you need a budget of £10 to £20 per day, which is, it adds up quite considerably. So let's look at the alternative to that, which is organic. How do you choose a social media platform? So there's a bunch of different questions that you need to ask before you choose a social media platform. So does the audience fit on the platform? Does the platform actually have features that you can use to promote yourselves? What type of content do you actually need to create? How does the platform align with your goals? How much time and resource does it demand? What are the insights and analytics like? Because ultimately you want to be driven by those results. You want to be driven by those insights. So that's a super important one to ask. How do privacy and regulations fit with your use of it? Is there long-term viability? And are you looking for that local or that global reach? But we've kind of already given you the answer for this one. Meta platforms, they're the best one for your cause, at least I think so, because they do, you can use Instagram for both that global and local reach, and Facebook for that local reach. So how do you make the most out of it? First of all is your profile set up. There are so many pitfalls straight away when your profile isn't set up correctly. First of all, you need to choose a distinctive and recognizable name. There are so many accounts with like 6 numbers at the end. That's not useful to anyone. No one's going to be able to find you. And when you're searched, you're just going to end up at the bottom. So it's really important to make sure that your username is utilized for that search. And if you have Facebook, adding a vanity URL is a great thing to do. So that's essentially on Instagram, you have that @ you can add one of those for Facebook, and it just means that you'll show up better. They'll be able to find you better. Again, keeping that distinctive. Make sure everything on your page is up to date. Make sure, they're not really old pixelated photos. You want them to be good quality. If someone goes on your page and there's not a header image, or, something's really pixelated, they're just going to go back off it. They want to see that your profile is up to date, that it's active, that you're using it. Otherwise, they're just not going to want to engage in the same way. Visuals are so important. Make sure that no part of your profile is incomplete. This is really important because any social media platform will penalize your account for an incomplete part of your profile. Use features like creator or business profiles, because these will make your reach go further, and you'll be able to access more analytic tools than you would with a normal page. Ensure any bios are clear and representative of who you are and what you do. And make sure any links that go externally are up to date. Otherwise, they'll end up on a 404 or something that isn't relevant to you anymore. So really important things in the setup of your profile. Once you've got it set up, there's one big thing missing: content. So what does social media content mean to you? If you could just drop something in the chat, just let me know what you think social media content is. Talk to the public. Yep, exactly. Images with little text, short and sharp message. Cool. So content formats you might want to look at, depending on the platform, relevant to your audiences, very much so. There are so many. I've put a list here. I won't go through them all, but you've got interactive post types like polls, you've got videos, images, you've got text posts, and Facebook, most of these you can use all the time. Instagram, you're going to want to focus on images and videos. So, maybe pick a few to start off with. I would suggest these ones. Static posts are great. Photos, really great for, grassroots football, pictures of the players, all that kind of thing. Super, super engaging for people. And portrait and landscape videos, both long and short format. Experiment with what works for you. But how do you make effective content? So consider your platform. Something I harp on about all the time is platform specific content. Everyone in this room is probably fed up of hearing it. I talk about it all the time. But first of all, consider your platform. It is so important, because if you're not considering the platform, then essentially the content's going to go nowhere within that platform. So when you're looking at the type of content you want to create, think, how does that work within the platform? So Instagram, as I've said, you want to keep it visual. You can't put a link in a text post in Instagram, it doesn't work. So there's no point in trying to do it. So consider your platform, make sure the content you're creating is for the platform. Really important. Step 2, consider your audience. So we've already done this in one respect, but now the next step is considering actually how is that content bringing value to your audience. It could be entertainment, it could be educational, it could be that it clicks through to a sign-up opportunity. It could be a giveaway or a promotion of other content, but you always have to be considering how you're providing value to your audience. If you sit there and you think, actually, no, this piece of content, I don't know what it provides, rethink it. There'll be a different angle that you can make that piece of content work for your audience, whether that's in an entertainment style. So just adding a song so it feels more entertaining, adding a caption so it explains it. It's super important. Consider your audience. What value are you bringing? And this is a great way to explore interactive content types, which we have a blog about, should you want to read it. But things like polls, it gets your audience engaged. It brings value in that they get to engage with that, and it entertains them and brings them a bit of data. And if you're a data nerd, that's going to be great. So make sure that you explore those content types and check out the blog if you're not sure how to use them, because it's a great one. And then create the content, which sounds super simple, right? Or not. But creating the content doesn't have to be overcomplicated. You can use your phone. So content days are a great way to do this. If you have an event coming up, if you have a game coming up, use that as your content day. Just plan a load of content that you want to capture that day. And it's a great starting point to build a bank of content that then you can go ahead and use for months. So we will atomize content, which is a word I get sick of, to be honest, but we'll have a massive 40-minute video, and then we'll cut that down into 30 pieces of content that we can then publish throughout the month. So if you spend a whole day capturing that content, you're going to be sorted for a long while. And if you just keep planning those days in, it's a great way to generate that content. And of course, there's loads of free tools you can use for that. You've got Canva. So this is like a graphic design app that you can use for absolute free. You can pay for additional features, but really I don't think you need them. Canva is like the solution to Adobe's Illustrator, but you don't have to pay for it. It's got a bunch of free templates. It's got fonts that you can use. It's got everything that you will ever need. And you can use it to create graphics, infographics, to overlay text on photos. There's so many capabilities within it. And I would absolutely suggest using Canva for graphic design. You've got CapCut. So CapCut you can use on desktop or you can use it on your phone. It's a video editing tool that has all the capabilities of Premiere Pro, but condensed. So you can cut, you can edit, it has pre-made templates, which a lot of trending content used now. So if you see the ones with like cut out movies over the top of them, that's from CapCut. It makes a super easy way to make content, and it gives you a chance to go viral because it's part of a trend, which is great. It's ByteDance's alternative to an editing app. ByteDance own TikTok, whether you knew that or not, I'm not sure. But essentially, because it's owned by ByteDance, when you use the CapCut tools, you can A, post straight to TikTok, and B, it recognizes it as a native platform, so it will push the content further because you've used ByteDance's app, essentially. But CapCut is absolutely brilliant. It has loads of features, audio features, editing features. If you want to get into video content, absolutely download CapCut on your desktop or your mobile. I use it all the time, and I have an industry level editor, so that tells you everything you need to know. And then Adobe Express. Adobe Express is a free version of all the Adobe apps, so it's condensed into one handy app. If you want to use things like Photoshop or a Premiere Pro dupe, Adobe Express is the way to go. It has loads of features just in one place, and this could be essentially your bite-sized editor for photo and video. It has both within the app. So in terms of Adobe, if you're not sure you want to dedicate the expense to the actual Adobe suite, this is a great alternative to test that out. And it's your one-stop shop for all editing, basically. So maybe you've got limited space within your memory, just use this if you can't get CapCut and Canva. But yeah, Adobe Express, great. We use the Adobe suite here. It's amazing. So absolutely try Adobe Express and download that one. And native editing tools. So as I touched on with the ByteDance thing, by using native features, it will push your content further because you're not using an external third-party app. So TikTok has editing features within the app. It has filming capabilities within the app. And if you use that, essentially, it will circulate your content further. TikTok have really bought on their video editing tools. You can do very much the same as CapCut, but just a few less features, so you can't like drown out noise reduction or anything yet. I think we'll get there, but for now, it's great for quick edits within the app. And obviously it has those native features, it has native filters, and you can add effects and stuff within the TikTok platform. Instagram has recently updated its Reels editing, obviously. So it has, again, very much the same capabilities. If you're using it within Instagram, it's going to push your content further because you're not using that third-party app. So I absolutely would suggest using those native features. Instagram also has filters. It has editing tools for photos. It always has done. Again, it's likely that it's going to push Instagram edited photos further. Although I will say photo editing on Instagram is very limited. And then optimize the content. So this is where a bit of the technical comes in, but as I've said, use native editing tools or creation tools. It will just help because they want you to spend time on the platform. So if you're spending time on the platform editing, it's going to push your content further. Use visual content because it's well known that on social media, visual content performs the best. As humans, we like to be able to see things, we like to take things in visually. So super, super important to use that visual content. Avoid links where possible. Any social media will penalize you for using links within your post because, again, it's that taking you out of the app, spending less time on the app and going to a third-party website. So if you can, put your links in comments because it won't penalize that as much as putting it in the actual text description. Use relevant hashtags. You're probably already doing this, but generally 3 to 5 is the sweet spot on Meta. And use a mixture of viral hashtags and more niche hashtags. This will help to find the right audience. And if you're using all viral hashtags, you're going to be in a very oversaturated hashtag market. If you're using very niche ones, people will be able to find exactly what they're looking for. So it's important to use the balance. tap into trends. As I've said, CapCut, loads of trending templates, really good one to use. Trending sounds, really important. Trending filters, again, you can look into. But tapping into trends, likely to push your content further, and you can put your message within that. So you can adapt trends to show what you want to say. And then tagging relevant pages and users. So, you know, like we were tagging Kent FA for this workshop when we're promoting it, it helps to spread your content. They then see it, they will hopefully share it. It puts you in that circulation. Consider timing. So this is a really obvious one, but you know, I feel like I have to say it. Don't post at 3 a.m. No one's up. No one's going to see it. By the morning, it's out of circulation. It's not going to help you. No one's going to see it. It's not going to help them. It comes back to that value to the audience piece. And use community groups and organic targeting options. So there are ways that you can target people organically. You can create close friends groups. You can create groups within Facebook. Make sure that you're thinking about these things. So maybe create a group, create a community page, and then use that to spread certain types of content, because it's just going to help you find the right people, essentially. You can also do this on platforms like LinkedIn. So one to think about. So hopefully that's given you an overview of how to get started with scoring goals online. Little football pun. Hopefully you'll like that. You can see my football knowledge is not quite up there. I'll pass you to Luke just to conclude that.
Cool. So just to conclude then, when we're looking to promote ourselves online, you must consider building your brand, considering your visuals and the messaging and your story from start to finish. It's then figuring out your goals and where you want to choose. Sometimes it helps to just focus down on one and really make sure that you're fleshing out exactly what kind of content you want to create. Find the right audience and then work out where they are and how to contact them. And then you want to be building your social media presence using your organic and paid if you have a budget for it. Have an optimized social media account and set up. Create content based on audience value and making sure that you're using those free tools that we've listed through here as well. And again, it is really the best thing to do that I find whenever we're creating content here is taking inspiration from those people that you want your content to resemble, but putting your spin on it. So those kind of clubs that we looked at before, it's how can I make my content look this way. You can find, because obviously we're not a graphic design agency, but there are tons of tutorials online for things like Canva and how to build the best kind of visual and engaging graphics on there. But it is absolutely amazing the kind of results that you can get once you've just figured out those tools a little bit. So I think that's it from us on here. I'll just say that we are looking at as well, we've got a digital skills workshop coming up, which is one of our webinars. Just quickly say about this. This may help when you're crafting compelling content ideas. If you're looking for things to help with your marketing, this is one of the talks where we're going to focus on what's the best way of coming up with the ideas for that content. So this will be, we'll post a link through and send that through for you guys if you do want to join onto that as well.
Also, if you do want to follow us on socials, these are all of the Sleeping Giant Media socials. And also, if you'd like to reach out to me or Luke on LinkedIn, maybe you've got more questions or there's something you'd like to know a bit more in depth. Obviously, we don't have the time to cover everything today, but add us on LinkedIn. We're happy to have a conversation. We could jump on a call with you, talk through more of this, talk through the more. Absolutely. So please feel free to do that. Cool.
My headphones have died, by the way.
Sweet.
Thank you so much, Anelia and Luke. So I will now be just passing on to our head of safeguarding, Lucy Kidd, who is going to talk to us about how we can use our digital channels to support safeguarding.
Hi, I don't know if anyone can see me. I'm having a right old mare with my tech tonight. Can you hear me if you can't see me? One or the other.
We can certainly hear you.
Good, that's fine. Hang on, I think am I back?
Oh, you're visible now.
Can you see? I can't see me, which is weird, so bear with me. But yeah, I am Lucy. I'm the head of safeguarding for Kent FA. I work predominantly at the moment in the youth football setting. So any of you here from youth football clubs and leagues will know of me. It's always a bit of a running joke that if you know who I am, it's probably never a good thing. But in this case, I'm here to kind of be positives, and there's no traumatic content, you'll be pleased to know. I just wanted to kind of, Charlie and Claire asked me to come on just to kind of give you a few pointers on how to kind of, when you're managing your social media and your websites, is how keeping it safe. The FA actually produced several guidance documents around this, and I will get these links, I'll put them in the chat after, and they'll get them sent out to everyone that's kind of here as well. But sort of as a kind of a rough thing to remember is that as a club or as a league, you are responsible for all content that is hosted on not only your websites, your social network areas, but any associated message boards, any blog posts that you have, any forums, and any content on that has to abide and follow the rules and regulations of the FA. We have had it in the past where individuals have posted content, posted inappropriate things, and they've been subject to discipline or safeguarding charges because of the content that we're in there. It's often a thing we hear of, oh, it's a WhatsApp group, it's not really a club content. If your name is in the title of that chat, of that group, of that forum, it is a club's responsibility and becomes a club's problem if it goes wrong. One we've kind of had a lot of recently is certainly in the youth kind of arena, WhatsApp groups set up by parents to talk about fixtures and training with coaches in there. Someone's put something in there that they find funny. Someone else has found quite offensive, has technically been discriminatory, and individuals and clubs and leagues have been charged for that. So it's just something to be aware. It kind of talks into what Aniela and Luke were talking about, your brand. It is your brand, it is your advertising. Do you want your club name, image associated with that sort of content? So it's kind of linking it back to what the guys were saying there. So you shouldn't be posting anything that can be deemed as offensive, insulting, abusive, discriminatory, racist, that kind of thing. The other thing we would advise, particularly around websites, is having something like the COP button listed on there. For those of you that don't know what it is, it's an online tool set up to enable children to report any kind of uncomfortable or unwanted behaviour that they have while they're online. So it's just have that on there again. Another sort of tip that we have is make sure you know who is responsible for your social media content and your website. We have had issues with clubs where we've had sort of 10 people arbitrarily posting it. Again, very much what the guys were saying earlier about keeping control of your brand and everything. You don't want one person posting one thing, and I am sure we are all aware of some very big companies where disgruntled people have gone on Twitter, Facebook, posted things, some of which have been quite funny, don't get me wrong, when they're leaving. But again, it's just thinking back to that reputation for you as a club or a league, and also sort of thinking about what you're exposing anyone that's potentially reading it to. Has anyone got any questions on anything that I've said so far? Either holler or stick it in the chat. I don't mind either.
What was the name of that? The op button for
COP. So it's a COP. There's a report abuse button. So again, I can put the link in the chat, or I'll get Claire and Charlie when they send the stuff round. It's a free button. It's a free button. It's monitored by sort of police and those. But it's and in Kent football, we have had children that have reported things. It may not be about what's going on in your club or in general, but it just kind of helps children if they are kind of looking on your website, which, you know, certainly teenagers probably do go around looking on social media and that kind of thing. This is how I found out my daughter's science teacher is a European roller skating championship, because she went Googling on the internet. So they get a name of a coach or an individual or a club. Young people nowadays, they're straight on Google straight away. So word of warning for anyone that's a coach as well, if you do have your social media, make sure it's private. Again, things that you're posting on there can come back and sort of bite you on the bum, as it were, from time to time as well. So but it's just a good tool that enables children nowadays, if they wish to report something, they don't tend to do the email this person or send a message. They want something that's a bit more quick and instant. So it's a good little kind of link to put on there. The other thing I would advise, particularly around websites, which is where most of kind of the safeguarding arena sits at the moment, is have on there for children and for the adults around you clear, concise contact details, so they know who to contact, when to contact. We get it at Kent FA HQ. People ring us up, say they're trying to get hold of a club, they want to speak to somebody about X, Y, or Z, and they don't know how to. Again, it's that whole kind of thinking of, you know, your website, your social media is your kind of shop front, I suppose, is the old-fashioned way they used to look at it. So if you want people to be contacting you, be it for positive or for sort of, you know, negative reasons as an issue, and somebody wants to talk to somebody, kind of make sure that that's available as well. With regards to content, any content that involves anyone under the age of 18, you do need to should have, I would strongly advise you have consent from any parents or carers to be hosting anyone's images online at all. Can be a problem, cannot be a problem, but just have those conversations with the people, and remember that consent can be withdrawn at any time. So it might be that they're okay for an image or a picture to be used now, but certainly I find children, as they get older, when they suddenly realise there's a picture of them 8 years old in their football kit on the internet, they don't want that on there anymore, so they want that taken down. So again, just something to kind of have kind of bear in mind about that. What's the question? Should the consent be in writing? Ideally, yes. Certainly in youth clubs, what we would advise is everyone, parents and carers, sign a consent policy anyway of what they can and can't allow their images to be used for. Similar sort of thing, if you're posting pictures online, if you're going to put a name, just use first name, don't put surname. And something that I see done quite a bit, and on one hand I really like it, on the other hand the safeguarding professional in me absolutely dies inside when I see it, is that kind of Q&A thing with children of, you know, what's your favourite player, what's your favourite team, what's your favourite food, all this kind of stuff. It's fantastic, and it's done. I always come at things from that's information that if somebody were to try and approach a child, they would have that information to hand. It would be quite easy to use. So it's just having those sorts of having those kind of considerations when you're sort of looking at these things. And the other thing I would strongly advise was so more with websites. I think you can do it on social media platforms now, particularly sort of Meta and Facebook, is any club policies or documents that you have. Again, what Luke and Aniela were talking about earlier about having that kind of ethos, have that available as well, so people can access what is your policy, what is your team selection policy, what is your recruitment policy, how do you become a coach if there's a problem, how do you go to, do you have an internal discipline policy, these kind of things, your safeguarding policies, your wet weather, any policy that you want, have those documents up front. Adds certainly to an air of kind of professionalism, and it will avoid traffic potentially coming backwards and forwards to you guys. You're all volunteers, you're not on the whole paid to be managing these things. If people can access that information a lot quicker, then have that hosted on your website as well. Has anyone got any? I could go on forever, but what I would do is I will put the links in the SA. The FA have a guidance document on running websites and social media, one on photography and one about sort of social media communications with children and young people as well. So I could do a whole session just on that, but I'll put those links in so people can access them and read them at their own time. Yes, Claire, I can see your hand up.
Lucy, Caroline's got a question about leagues as well and photo consent.
Yes, yeah, anyone that's involved. So if you're doing it as a league, the club should have it. But again, particularly with youth players, as a courtesy, I would say go back to the club and just double check. We have it. I drive Claire bonkers with things like our goal of the month competitions, because I'm like, have you got consent? Have you got consent? Have you got consent? Have you got consent? Please have consent. And the other thing to think about consent is as simple as yes or no. It's not, don't overcomplicate it, people. You may not think the reason that someone is saying no, you may think that's a bit crazy, or that's a bit silly, or I don't agree with that, or I disagree with that. It doesn't matter if a parent or carer or any individual, particularly around being on the internet. Claire will tell you, I absolutely hate my picture being put on the internet, but she makes me do it. That's a little bit different. It's been done in a professional capacity. People apparently need to know who I am. But for certainly youth players and children, I don't like people knowing who I am. It means they can complain at me more. It's kind of have that in mind. If they don't want it, parents and carers don't want their children. They may not want their child on the internet being shown to let in an absolute howler of a goal, even though you as the opposition club have submitted it. So there are some kind of politics behind it as well, but just always double check with your parents and carers and the individuals if they want anything posted online, because there is that saying, the internet is forever. And that's it from me.
Perfect. Thank you, Lucy. I'm just would see if anyone has any questions for Luke and Aniela. So please put it just in the chat if you've got anything. I'll just give it a couple of minutes if anyone's got any questions.
Social.
Oh.
Sorry. Oh, sorry about that. So any social media. Oh, there's so many. Any social media posting platforms for free. I used Hootsuite, but they have now closed off free account. So if it's just for scheduling, I would suggest actually using the scheduling features within each app, because in my experience as someone who works in social media, actually using third-party apps is super detrimental. It actually stops your reach quite a bit, because again, it's that third-party app thing. So every single platform now has native scheduling features. Instagram, it's in the advanced settings. Facebook has a whole meta suite around it. LinkedIn, you can now schedule posts using the clock icon. They're really, really useful, and they again benefit your reach for the fact that you're staying within the platform. Otherwise, in terms of free schedulers, all the ones we used are actually paid. So I'm not too helpful on that one, but I would absolutely say use native ones where you can. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, let's have a look and see at the other questions there as well. So there's one about the colours. So our colours are baby blue and navy. On away games, I use the away colours, which are red and turquoise, inherited from previous social media manager. So long as it represents your brand and is something that you can be consistent with. I mean, a lot of the clubs that I looked into focused on one kit for the kind of thing that they were putting across, just because it was the one that they're most recognizable with. So looking at the home colors, but it's totally down to you. And if it's something that you think would work for your content, and you could even theme it around that and be like, okay, these are the away colors, it's an away game. Again, if you are recognizable from that, it's just making sure that whatever you're using for your brand is something that people will pick up on, and you can use that as a theme, and it could be part of your color scheme as well. So you don't have to just be the two. There are other ones that you could bring into it. So I think it's definitely a personal choice, but if you can make something that is instantly recognizable, obviously sometimes the simpler the better. Let's have a look. Yeah, we can definitely send through an email with the presentation to everybody as well. We'll make sure we sort that with Charlie. Yeah, this workshop has been recorded. Is there anything I'm missing? If you're doing match highlights, how do you suggest is the best way of gaining consent? Has that been answered already, or would that be something that Lucy would be best positioned to
Yeah, I
answer
mean,
on?
again, if you're adults, it's slightly bit different in that they don't really kind of have to give their consent to be filmed. If you're filming under 18s, consent should be given before any match is recorded anyway, be that by a VO or any kind of self-hosted equipment. So ideally that would be a conversation by two managers prior to the match taking place. VO cameras aren't so bad. They're kind of obvious. They're there. You know they're there. You know the film. It's been recorded. A lot of it is about communication. So clubs talking to each other, managers of teams on the day talking to each other and just saying, look, we're looking to film. Is everyone okay? I had it with my son. He plays football. We were at a match a couple of weeks ago. The opposition's dad is a sort of semi-professional photographer. I offered to come down and take photos. We just got a message from our manager a couple of days before saying so-and-so will be there with the camera. You'll know who he is. Are you all happy for your children to be photographed, kind of thing? And then it's just about having that conversation. Okay, we've got some really good footage. We want to put it online. We think it, and then just get that consent verbally or in writing.
I mean, to make it, I mean, sorry to interject there, you saying about parents possibly getting opposition, getting a bit funny about taking photos or whatever. I mean, I've taken an extra precaution myself to actually make myself a name badge so that every time I'm there with a camera, everybody, instead of saying, oh, somebody was there to just randomly taking photos, don't know who he is, so that people actually can come up to me and say, who are you, why are you doing this? And I can say, well, I'm the official social media manager. The club have asked me to come along. There is a reason why I'm here. Any problems, phone the club or phone the chairman, and he'll tell you exactly what I'm doing here. And so I haven't just come off my own back and just taken photos. I am here for a reason.
And that's really good practice, yeah, to be identifiable as having a photographer. It's really difficult on public land. So certainly smaller clubs that play on, public fields, public parks, it's actually really hard to enforce no photography because there is no law to say you can't take photos in a public area. It's what you do with it becomes the problem. So it's it is just about coaches on the day and people talking to each other and just saying, actually, we all live in a world of mobile phones. We have recording devices in our hands all the time. It is nigh on impossible to kind of have full control over that. But if you're doing something certainly in an official club capacity, then what you're doing is the right thing, to be identifiable, to be present, to let people know that's what you're doing. You know what your pictures are doing. So it's a good bit of practice there anyway.
Thanks for that. And just one thing that I'd like to add as well is that if you do have any questions for us to do with anything digital marketing related for your club, for your league, for whatever it may be, whether it's design related, we can help with that in our team as well, although it's not necessarily what Sleeping Giant Media provide. Please do just send those through, either if you can get our email online or probably send it through to Charlie as a contact and he can reach out to us as well. Sorry, volunteering you for that one, bud. But any questions that perhaps if we haven't been able to get around to answer, if there's anything more specific that you want us to dive into, please let us know. I said this stuff, we love answering these questions and being able to help. And if it's to do with marketing strategies or campaigns, send them through. We'll see what we can do for you.
Or add us on LinkedIn.
Or add us on LinkedIn and go direct.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending tonight's session. We hope you found it helpful. A big thank you to Sleeping Giant Media for such an insightful evening. We will follow up tomorrow with some materials and a survey. So thank you.